You made it to level 2, deeper questions leading to deeper answers. I'm Tomas Garza, and I'm here to help you decide to transform. I'll be setting the pace for the process to support your unfolding. Learn and commit to a practice that brings simplicity and an awareness of what is ready to be released. Join me now and allow the experience of a deeper sense of love. Hello, welcome to Decide to Transform. I'm your host, Tomas Garza, with a really fun conversation in store for you today. Joining me from Alberta is Reverend Carrie-Ann Barron. Now, Carrie-Ann's a very good friend of mine, and we're going to have a great conversation today. Carrie-Ann is the founder of White Light Metaphysical Center, and she helps people connect with their higher selves and non-physical elements of this world. She's an expert guide to self-empowerment, to helping people trust their intuition, embrace their gifts, and discover their personal greatness. She is also a SolePath certified mentor, and we're going to be talking at length here today on the show about the teachings of SolePath. So if you're wondering about this, you're in for a real treat. This is going to be fun. Carrie-Ann, welcome.
Thank you. Oh, so much. I'm excited, actually. I'm very excited.
Good,
when
I am too.
When I hear you put it that way, it's like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people have lots of experience in life, and no matter what their experience is, it is cool.
Mm-hmm. It is. It is. I'm excited to be here today. Thank you so much
Wonderful.
for the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's fun to have you on here. Well, and let's just jump right into it, because listeners may know about SolePath. Plenty of people have heard about it. Plenty of people may be wondering, what exactly is this? So what, in fact, is it?
Well, I'm just going to quote Dr. Deborah Ford, who is one of the creators, who is the creator of SolePath. So SolePath is your spirituality, your spiritual personality profile. And it really is all about who you were born to be. So it really provides that guide to being, having a beautiful life filled with happiness, peace, joy, love, purpose, and meaning, which is a big thing that we always search for joy and happiness, but we sometimes forget to put that meaning piece. What does our purpose mean, and how are we going to show up and serve the world? So when you start to really understand your soul path, you can start to navigate those pitfalls that keep showing up in your life, those things that trip you up, but it also connects you with your unique, personal, individual gifts and greatness. So it's really a profound journey into self-awareness. It really helps you to understand yourself at an entirely different level. Yeah, that's the short version of a soul path.
I love it. Okay. Well, so you mentioned Dr. Deborah Ford, and you've had quite a bit of experience with SolePath. Again, you're a SolePath certified mentor. So where did SolePath arise? How did that come about into this physical world?
So Dr. Deborah Ford, she's certified, or she's ordained through the University of Sedona, Metaphysical Science.
Okay.
So she discovered this whole thing. As light workers, we often receive channeled messages and such. SolePath's non-physical guide is Seth. Some of you may know his work through Jane Roberts back in the 60s and 70s. Dr. Deborah has developed the ability to be a channel for Seth. So even though SolePath is her own work, he came through in her writings of SolePath and really helped her to explore all of these different ways that individuals show up on the world. But Dr. Deborah is the creator of SolePath. It's her piece of work, it's her teachings, and her personal mission is to make sure that everyone in this world has a chance to understand what their soul path is, who they're born to be, and how they're meant to show up in the world. So
okay,
it's quite interesting, actually. And I think it's been about 10 years that it's been in this plane of existence that we're in
Okay.
right now. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I like the way that you described this plane of existence that we're in, this, shifting thing.
Yes,
I don't know.
this earth incarnation.
Yeah.
Because the one thing SolePath does believe is we're internal souls, so we have multiple lifetimes, and as a soul, there are so many different lessons for us to learn: how to overcome trust or distrust, shame, all of those things that were really brought up by human ego, human construct. And SolePath reminds us of the expansion of which our soul is seeking in this earth incarnation. So we're an eternal soul experiencing new lessons and learning new things to allow our soul to expand, not just as a human being, but as an actual soul. Um, so yeah, can I go deeper into, or is
You
that,
may
do you
go,
want to go deeper into that?
listeners, you'll know me from past episodes. Let's go as deep as we possibly can. Yeah,
Sounds
you
good.
got the floor. I love it.
Oh gosh. Well, there's just so many different lessons for us to learn in as a soul.
Mhm.
And we're at the point now as souls where we're trying to figure out, we have a lot of experience figuring out the bad and navigating through the dark. But the dark itself exists so that we can choose the light.
Okay.
And as
Yeah.
humans, we get stuck in the dark. And SolePath teaches the dark path. So there's 3 paths to SolePath. There's 2 light paths and a dark path, and they're intertwined, they're braided.
Mhm.
But the dark path sounds scary, but it's actually the biggest place for your personal evolution and your soul's expansion, because they're your subconscious responses to the way that you interact with the world. It with SolePath, it indicates that that's energy that you've mastered in a previous lifetime.
Okay.
So you've
Mhm.
learned all of those lessons. You've had great life experience in other lives with those lessons. So they bring no joy in this lifetime because there's nothing to learn. Our soul, we're seeking. Anyone who's in this is a knowledge seeker, truth seeker, wants to know more, understands there's something bigger than themselves. Typically, they have that, like something's missing, right? So the dark just really gives them an opportunity to choose the lights. But it's also an indicator when you understand your dark path. It really gives you that sense of, I already know this stuff. I just have to remember. I just need to tap into it. It's not something I need to keep experience. It's not a lesson I need to learn. It's a lesson I've already learned in a former life.
Okay.
And that's the beautiful part of what the dark path is. But it really brings in past lives, right? So yeah, and what your soul's here to learn.
Well, what's really intriguing about this is the premise that our soul is seeking something in this lifetime. So then what I understand is that SolePath helps you get clear on that.
Yes. Yeah. So when I talk about paths, and there's 6 primary categories. There's inspirational, intellectual, intuitive, spiritual, compassionate, and one other one that's just not coming to me at this time.
Did you mention
Because I can't.
charismatic?
That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the
All
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's these 6 primary categories. And when you understand these categories, you're here to understand with each category, there's something that we call your guidance system. So maybe it's learning how to trust your body, how to trust your connection, how to trust your mind. There's all of these different guidance systems that we have that we're really meant to tap into. And when you tap into that guidance system, you can really start to navigate whether you're feeling your emotions. I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself a little bit, but it helps you understand what you can really trust. So you know how some of us are like, we're really empathic and we can really trust, but their intellect may act, their soul path category may actually be intellectual. So that it's not, they don't need to trust their gut, they need to start trusting their mind. So everything in their world, in this earth incarnation, is designed to help them trust what their guidance system is, which leads into understanding what your key life experiences are, what your soul is actually meant to hear, to learn, if that makes sense.
It does. Well,
And yeah, and a person can have more than one category. So that's why we see it as a braid. So the intellectual and the compassionate, they will blend well together. They all blend well together, but it's understanding what you're here to really understand and learn. And then within that, there's 27 paths that you could pick. So it's sounds quite complicated, but it's really quite simple when you're just focusing on your own three, your light paths and your dark path. So
right.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
then are we to understand that everybody has their own unique, different path?
Yes. So and this is cool because everyone has their own unique soul path, and there's also a governing energy around your soul path. So and that's based on your birthday, and it's not exactly like everyone else does the numerology. It means something else. So everyone is unique. Everyone is here for a different reason, and soul path really helps us get that connection. What are we really here to learn, and how are we meant to serve the world? Not show up in the world, but serve the world. So it's really, and it's like Plato said, there's a place that you are here to fill and no one else can do that. This is sort of like that, that life hack. We call it #life hack. This is telling me how I'm meant to show up in life. And it's really unique.
Okay.
Everyone's is different. Yeah.
Well, this is a very powerful, it's a powerful experience. It's a powerful claim to say this is how you're meant to show up. So because there are other kind of systems, there are other healing modalities, there are other teachings in the world that say the same thing. How is Soul Path fundamentally different from those?
Yeah, it really, I have to say, it's a life hack because it gives you the tools and it gives you, the understanding of what you're here to trust, what your key life experiences are. It provides you those metaphysical tools to connect to your light paths. So there's breathing exercises, there's key communication words, how to take care of yourself appropriately. As a spiritual, I need a lot of time alone. Whereas an intuitive, there's all of these different ways to take care of yourself, appropriate mental distractions, specialized self-help. There's all of these different ways that you can take care of yourself. So it's not just, this yoga is best for you. No, yoga, it may not be the best fit for everyone, right? So it really helps you understand what your core energy is, really what really strings you along. So as an intellectual, it could be innovative thinking or original ideas. Intuitive is more about integrity and dedication. There's all of these different imagination, all of these different things that really create, and then we lead you through the mentoring program, or if you choose to, we really get you to look upon what are the things that when you started to trust this particular aspect of yourself, what did you experience when you felt disconnected from it? What was the outcome in your life? And really helping you navigate the pitfalls and the expansion. And Tomas, I know I led you through the training, through the mentoring program. So it was so much fun working it with you.
Yeah.
But it also helps you discover who you are, what you're doing here. what your true characteristics are.
Mhm.
And it's just, how it relates to the Tao is, I could go on and on and on and
Mhm.
on and on about what makes this different from all the other stuff.
Well,
Because
yeah, it's
that was the question.
it was, and I can also offer my own perspective. So, as Carrie-Ann, as you just said, I've gotten my own soul path reading, and I've gone through a mentorship program with you, so I can attest to the depth of this. And listeners, if you're curious, my soul paths are as follows. My two light paths are compassionate healer and intuitive builder, and the dark path that Carrie-Ann was talking about just a moment ago is intuitive solitude, which I can absolutely confirm is a lesson already learned in multiple past lifetimes.
Good.
So,
What
luckily,
was
yeah.
what was what was the biggest, if you don't mind me turning the tables
Let's
on you
do
for
it.
a
Yeah,
bit, because it's hard not to be a mentor once you've been when you are.
I
But what was the
understand.
what was the biggest aha moment for you when you realized, and like really, what was that when you started to understand these characteristics in your life, what you really are meant to be here to experience?
Yeah.
What really shifted for you?
It was really it was very profound. And I had a feeling when I first got the Soul Path reading, and by the way, we'll talk about how one goes about that in a little while here.
Mhm.
But when I first got that, I had a sense that this was deeper than other things that I'd investigated and tried in the past. And experience really played that out. I was able to go through and look at everything that I had done in my life. I've had multiple career lives. I'm 49 years old, so this is the 21st century, and we've all had multiple career lives in this lifetime. So we've all lived many lives in this one life, and what really struck me is that all of the periods in my life, I was either living one of my two light paths, or both, and that or I was actively seeking one. There was something missing in the periods of time that were stressful for me. For example, I've been to law school and spent 13 years in a related career as a real high stakes child custody mediator. So I was being fed during that time, outwardly by one of my soul paths and neglecting the other. So it's a lot of aha moments for me of, oh, yes, that makes sense. So I was able to look back and say, okay, that makes sense. Makes
Mhm.
sense why I was not happy in this environment, whereas I was being really well fed in another. But as you said, it's a braid of two light paths and a dark path. So, if you
Yeah,
only serve one, it's, well, not complete.
yeah, yeah. I love that you said like that you're able to recognize when the compassionate healer was being served and when the intuitive
Hmm.
builder was being served. And I know we had a lot of conversation around the intuitive solitude and what
Yeah.
that looks like for you. And it's the way that we sort of shift it and shape it for you that puts it into context. What
Mhm.
was the thing about the solitude that really shifted for you? Because do you want to share kind of what
Oh,
that
yeah.
that looks like?
Oh, yeah. Listeners, y'all know I'm an open book. Yeah, so I'll totally share. It's really interesting because as you mentioned just a moment ago, Carrie-Ann, that it's about energy that you've mastered, and I've spent, I know, at least one recent lifetime as a Tibetan monk, so I do know about intuitive solitude quite a lot. And what I find in this lifetime is I am, when people talk about being an introvert or an extrovert or an ambivert, I really am both. I have periods of time in my life where I really need to be alone, like alone, and regenerate. And with soul path work, I also notice that the dark, having this as a dark path, means I can sit sit and spin, basically, stew and conjure up all kinds of negative thoughts about other people, and about myself, or both, and
Yeah.
just spin and spin in a wheel of negativity. And I think all of us can relate to worrying about things that never come to pass. Well,
Right.
that is something that I definitely, with that as my dark path, intuitive solitude, have to be aware of. And one of the big takeaways for me is that it's not unhealthy to be alone, because I do need that time to regenerate. But the question is, what is my motive? Is my motive to get the hell away from somebody so I can plot their demise, or right, or go to town in my own head about what a horrible person they are, how unjust or unfair they're being to me? Or is it to actually regenerate myself? Because that is one of the things that I need in my other light path as a compassionate healer, is taking time for myself and self-care. So what is the motive behind seeking the solitude? I mean, really, it's quite profound, because I'm able to see now, with this, with the benefit of going through this program, that, well, there were plenty of times in my life where I had the wrong motives, and that's what
Mhm.
happened. Not so
And that,
fun.
no, and if you hadn't brought that up, I was going to bring it up. Because
Perfect.
for me, I think that was one of the most profound shifts for you when you understood why you were taking that retreat, why you needed to step away.
Mhm.
And that leads into the other aspect of Soul Path, is it's self-awareness, it's understanding who you are, but it's also all about expansion. So it's all about emotion, it's all about feelings.
Mhm.
Now, I want to differentiate emotions and feelings as I'm going deeper into these teachings and explaining it to people, are actually very different. So a lot of, when we talk about how are you feeling in these day and age, we're tired, we're fatigued, it's more of a physical feeling that
Mhm.
we're referring. But emotions can be active or passive. So when you're in positive emotions, in that sphere of love, because there's really only two states of emotion, love and fear. But
Exactly.
there's
Yeah.
so many variants of what that looks like. We can't all reach for joy and happiness all the time, but we can reach for contentment or satisfaction, or just a sense of calm and peace. Those are all emotions that, those are just some of the emotions that indicate that you're in your lights, that you're
Mhm.
moving towards your soul's expansion. Whereas when you're in the dark, and it's what you were talking about earlier about the motive, why am I doing this? So I helped you recognize, are you feeling expansive when you choose to go into that solitude? Or are you feeling collapsed? Are you angry? Are you feeling victimized? Are you depressed? Are you, just feeling that everything around you is just wrong? Like, what is that negative? Is it a positive feeling or a negative feeling? And that's really where Soul Path helps you bring into that awareness, that emotions. So Seth, our non-physical guide, talks about, and I'm going to just read the quote. So if I'm not looking at you, that's because I'm reading. So, because
Well,
I don't have this one memorized. Okay.
so listeners, we are watching each other on Zoom as we record. However, you're listening to the audio. You'll never know.
You'll never know. Oh,
But
dang,
we
I gave
just
it
said,
away.
ah.
Okay. So our non-physical guide, Seth, and for those of you who don't know who Seth is, but probably are very aware of Abraham, Seth and Abraham come from the same vibration. They're both here to help us evolve as humanity, help us reach for something better than what we are. So it's all about choosing your next step. So this is what Seth has to say about this. In every moment of every day, you are faced with choices. You are faced with light and dark choices, and Soul Path is the navigation of that. So choose well, because it's fun. Soul Path provides clarity around what to choose. It is true that there is expanding behavior that encompasses all, and that this will have a huge impact on your planet. It is further true that each of you needs direction for choosing. This is why the Soul Path teaching was brought into reality on Earth. We are wishing to speed up the energetic shift for all, for each of you to know the impact that you can have on the goodness for all. And that's a direct channeled quote from Seth about the teachings of SolePath.
Okay.
What comes up for you? Because I saw you nodding. For those of you who can't see us, he's nodding. And what was it about that just really? Because every time I read it, I just like, this is the message. But what was it for you that really?
What it is for me is it really resonates. It hits home. It's true. It's a Course in Miracles as well. It's a choice of light and dark. It's a choice of love or fear, with all of the gradations that come into play in the world, all of our categories and degrees. It's really one choice, and what we experience is a result of that choice. So choose light is another way of putting choose love. It's exactly the same.
Yeah. And it's choosing to feel those positive, expanding emotions. Now, this is something we haven't really talked about. So one of the ways, the way that they measure your soul path, and it's a measurement, it's not an algorithm, or this is your, it's not like that, answer a whole bunch of questions and based on that, this is who you are. It's all done energetically. It's done with dowsing rods in a very clear energetic space by, I think there's only 2 or 3 technicians that have really evolved to the state where they can read this energy effectively. And each request is confirmed by 2 technicians. So they each do this. So what they need is your name, a picture of you, and your date of birth, just to give them some context. And then they connect into your higher self, your non-physical self, into your Akashic record, that higher wisdom. And they take the rods and they test every single category and every single path. Like, what is the intellect? Where do you go? So if the listeners are enlightened, they understand that we all have this personal aura around us. And at rest, when we're not feeling positive or negative, it's 8 to 10 feet around us.
Right.
When we're in our progressive light path or progression light path, when we're living in that energy with you, it's the compassionate healer.
Right.
Your energetic aura surrounds you up to 20 feet. So just imagine understanding your light path and that you can actually expand your bubble, your energy field by 20% or to 20 feet. And when you're choosing to live in your joyful path, this is the most expansive state that you can be in, your energy field can radiate up to 30 feet around you, if not more, depending on how in that joyful light path you are.
Yeah.
So they take the dowsing rods and they measure your energetic frequency as it's meant to be. And that's how your paths are determined, by that energetic reading, that energetic frequency. And it's beautiful, because it's not a quiz that you take. It's not like, oh, should I answer this question, or if you choose this answer, what will the outcome be? It really is all about energy, and it's all about that higher. It's not even about you as a person, it's about your soul. So they connect to your soul's frequency. And it's just that's why it goes so deep into it, because it's beyond our tangible comprehension. Like, we can't visually see that.
Right.
Well, some of us can. Some of us can see people's auras, colors and such, but that's where soul path comes, like how it's measured, how it's determined.
Well, what really strikes me is that it's done energetically. It's not a quiz. It's not a quiz with you taking time to think, oh, is it A or B? Right. It's this is why it's deeper. And I can say to anyone that's interested in this, I highly recommend that you do it. Is 100%, in my experience, dead accurate.
Yeah, whether you want to accept it or not, it's dead accurate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have had clients start and they're like, and Dr. Deborah says there's people that either fully resonate with it or absolutely are so disconnected from their soul path that they just their sole purpose that it just doesn't. But there's it's so cool because even though they're like, this isn't who I am, they're still willing to go through the process. And by the end of the 9 discussions that we have, they're like, that's totally who I am. Now I understand. Because we're able to ask those questions and help them understand what their characteristics are and what do they really like doing. And especially the dark, when you start to tap into those pitfalls, those behaviors, those patterns, why do I, like for me, why do I keep attracting the same scenarios in my life, the people, the places? What is it that keeps creating this heaviness in my life? And when I understood my own soul path, it just made so much sense as to why all of this was happening, why I wasn't happy, and when I did do those things that made me happy, how much easier my life was in those moments,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, I can relate to that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
without question. So then, how does one go about getting involved in this? Because I know people are going to be very curious about this, and well, we're both fans for sure. But how does one go about getting the Soul Path reading?
Yeah. So you can go to my website and then request it, or you can go directly to the SolePath Institute. Highly recommend you go to my website. All the donations go to SolePath. It's redirected to you, but it just gives you a little more of a sense. So you go to the website, there's a request your SolePath link on White Light Metaphysical, and you first thing you do is you make a donation to the SolePath Institute. It could be $10, $20, $100, $1,000, whatever feels right to you to give. And they explain that on the sheet. And then once you've made the donation to the Soul Path, which includes one free consult with me,
All
if you
right.
put down that I'm the one that recommended that you take this or that you heard it through me, then you get like a 45-minute session with me as well. But then you're redirected back to their site, or you find yourself on the site and you submit your headshot, your date of birth, and your name. Hit submit. Usually within 3 to 5 days, you'll get your results, you'll get your certificate, you'll get links to just the basic understanding. The beautiful thing about Soul Path is everyone's learning styles are different. So some are abstract, some are visual, some are da 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 da. So they provide audio, they provide video, and they provide a written description of your soul path. You review it, you book your session with me, and then we break it down. We have that basic overview, have that deeper conversation about what soul path really represents. Do the quick overview, and then if you decide you want to move forward with it, we'll discuss the next step there.
Yeah.
But it's
Perfect.
it's that easy. It really is that easy. Yeah.
Yeah, it really struck me, in addition to the depth that we've talked about, it really struck me how easy it was and how little information people actually needed in order to be able to do this 100% accurate and very uh, in-depth process. So now your website, again, what is your website
It's
address?
called White Light Metaphysical. So take the word white as you know it, light with GHT, so LIGHT, not ITE, and the word metaphysical. So white, lights in the traditional spelling, metaphysical, whitelightmetaphysical.com.
.com. All right.
.com.
Love it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And
Perfect.
then you'll see in the menu, request your soul path and go to there. But
Okay.
there's a whole bunch on the website. But yeah, whitelightmetaphysical.com.
And for those tuning in, Soul Path is actually spelled a little bit differently than you might think. It's
That's true.
SOLE, like fillet of soul or the sole of a foot.
Yeah.
Why is that actually?
And this is a question I actually asked Dr. Deborah during the training that we took. And she explained to everyone has a soul, SOUL,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But soul path is about, it's a play on solo. It's all about you. It's your soul path.
Ah,
It's
okay.
it's it's
One's,
it's
yes.
a soul. Like when I first heard it, I was like the
Okay.
foot of my soul, but no, it's solo path doesn't sound as, I don't know, in my mind, but soul. It's the sole purpose of your
Okay.
being. I
Oh,
think
right.
that's
Okay. I
your
love that.
soul. Relate to it as your soul purpose.
Well,
Think
so
about it from that
I'm
spelling.
laughing. Yeah, I'm laughing because I've been involved with SolePath and familiar with it for a little over 6 months now, and I have not ever thought of it as one's own soul path, as in
Yeah.
unique.
Soul purpose, soul
Interesting. I love
path.
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's unique, right? It what makes you you. It's who you were supposed to be. So thank you
Yes.
for asking that question.
Yeah, I love it. I've wondered about that from the start, yet
Uh,
it never occurred to me to ask. So I'm glad I did. Yeah.
I'm glad you did too.
Well, now this is fun, and we can visit your website to get your own soul path reading at whitelightmetaphysical.com. Now, before we wrap up here, what else would you like to say to people that are maybe interested in this? Any suggestions?
You know, if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to dig deeper, if you have a craving for something more than what you know, or you're just unhappy, but you know there's something missing, you have to take this step. You're listening to this for a reason. It's your next best step. You don't have to go deep into the exploration. All of the information is available on the content that we provide you, but being able to walk through it and have that inquiry and have someone guide you through that awareness is just so profound in a way that you can't even imagine. But if you think something's missing, if you think, who am I, why does this keep happening to me, why can't I change my circumstances, you're seeking for more than what you know, whether it's tangible or intangible. Soul path is probably the answer to that question.
I can attest to that, most
That's a
definitely.
bold statement,
It
but
is.
it's a very bold statement. As I'm saying, it's like, whoa, that's pretty bold to say. But
Mhm.
I think once you have a better understanding of yourself and you have a deeper understanding of how profound this can be, and I swear, every client, every student that I've led through this teaching has had major shifts in their life,
Oh yeah.
huge
Yeah.
aha moments. They've reconciled with things in their past. They've shifted their beliefs and they understand where their beliefs are stemming from now. And they look at themselves in a completely different way.
Mhm.
There's a few testimonials on my website from
Yeah.
people who have gone through it, and it could be anything from surrendering to acceptance to self-love to inner confidence,
Yeah.
greater strength, and just that understanding of who I how am I supposed to show up in this world,
Mhm.
and what opportunities could that look like? But this isn't all about your career choice either.
No.
One of my other teachings that I'm certified in is fearless living, and it's all about mastering your emotional fears. But the difference between that and soul path is it's not about just what's going wrong, it's about how you can make things better.
Mhm.
But their intentions, their one teaching is intention statements. And most of us think of intention statements as smart goals or just goals, like today I'm going to complete this. This helps you determine what your soul or fearless living, and this is important for me to share. The intention statement that you make when you're in fearless living is, I am willing to practice being. So how do you want to show up in the world? Who do you want to be? What do you want to attract more into your life? Soul path helps you understand that intention statement on a much deeper level. So who am I meant to be? How am I meant to serve? You know, some people need to be on the stage, are meant to be on the stage, where others are meant to be behind the scenes.
Mhm.
Some want to contribute big to the world, where others are meant to just share little bits within their inner circle. Some
Mhm.
are meant to shine, some, you get what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
understanding that soul intention, not just what you're aspiring to attract, makes all the difference in the world,
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
me anyways.
Yeah, and it really is deep, and it really is quite profound. I can certainly say that. So, listeners, if you're interested, again, get a hold of Reverend Carrie-Ann here at whitelightmetaphysical.com and find out more about SolePath and get your own reading. Highly, highly recommend it. Yes, I did it, and I'm glad I did. So,
Good.
yeah.
So glad to hear that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yes. Well, Carrie-Ann, thank you so much for joining me here on the show today. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. I just love talking about this stuff. So it's great.
It's fun, and we get to talk about it. Guys, it's whitelightmetaphysicalcenter.com to get a hold of Carrie-Ann and request your own soul path reading. You won't be sorry you did. I can tell you that much. And
Yeah.
everyone, have a great rest of your day here. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Take care.